we're at the Vatican Pavilion. I'm from Colombia. I was born in Colombia and I live in New York since 20 years ago. And I was approached by the curator last year to be part of the pavilion, and they gave me a very specific theme. It's the gospel, the prologue of the Gospel of St. John, and I was interested in exploring just the first two verses. In the beginning there was the Word, and the Word was God, and God was the Word. And I realized that the Gospel, I didn't really know very much about it, and I realized that it was originally written in Greek. I do speak Greek, and then I realized that the translation of logos is not really verb nor word. So that, for me, was very interesting. That was a point of departure to trying to understand what is really the meaning of the Word of God. What does it mean? Who wrote it? Why is it perceived like that? Why was it translated like that? Why are people believing that this is the Word of God? And so I realized that the Word, the idea of the Word, is something very fixed, something that doesn't move. And I decided to approach it by, instead of having the meaning, just going through the form. So I decided to make a parallel with the beginning of abstraction, the history of abstraction through Malevich. And at this, Casimir Malevich, 100 years ago, he was exploring the idea of the sublime through the non-objectiveness. The church has for many centuries tried to give us the idea of God through the personification, incarnation of the Son. So I wanted to go through the other direction because I don't think that this is the only direction. There's another way of achieving that connection to the sublime through the idea that is not the word, but is something like form. So this is a parallel, a little bit, of how to approach the connection to the sublime through something very abstract, or also through nature. I've been for many, many years studying with a Taoist master, Chinese, Tao, Buddhism, Tao, China, Lao Tzu, yeah, Tao,
yes,
yeah.
Tao.
And they study the connection of the sublime through the study of nature, cycles of life, not through the reading scriptures of stories. It's not narrative, linear, because I consider that the Judeo-Christian tradition, it's a very linear tradition, it's very literal. We're still waiting for somebody to come again. The world is going to end one day. In the East, there's no such a thing. It's always cycles. One cycle, there's day, night, seasons. So I have been studying the idea of the world through this kind of approach. So here is very interesting to come towards this side and try to understand what the complexity of this understanding when something that is so fixed. So that's my approach. So you see the superimposition of layers. Panels of glass that project the words originally in Greek, but they're made as form, so you can read but not read. Then there are superimposed in the monitors that they have the original paintings of Malevich and Mondrian, and other abstract painters. They are decomposed and they reflect the landscape as well. I also have two other components in the piece. I have the sound. The sound is in 3 columns, and it's a very specific sound because it's projected. So I'm making the sound also like an object, as opposed to something that is ambient. And in the sound, I take the prologue, and I give this to around 10 people, and I ask them to take all the words apart and to make a list, and then say the prologue like a list of things, as opposed to like a meaning. So when you read it, you're just listening to words. Just saying. I'm not saying that the gospel doesn't mean anything, but I mean, I'm questioning what does it really mean. So is it a bunch of words, or I mean, how do you assign the meaning to something? Then the last part of the piece is a wall that it has some prints with some impositions of transparent images, and they're all also the gospel's words, some of them, and they are illustrated like an open book with an transparency superimposed, and the way I made them is like using the type font that Joseph Albers used in the Bauhaus, the forms, and then some other drawings, and then they depicting the idea of the prologue.